There we go. And good evening, everyone. Hi, I am Jamie Gilliland, and yes, I really messed that music up. So DJ is not part of my job description. I am the digital marketer that's usually behind the scenes, and tonight I am thrilled to be here to introduce you to some amazing people that have helped all of us go through the last 21 days. Bring our health to new things, be able to eat, drink, and be merry, and not gain weight. So that is an amazing thing. Wendy, our normal host, unfortunately is really ill tonight and has been for the last 2 weeks, so we all want to send love and light her way. Wendy, we all miss you, but we will go forward and bring lots together. So with that, I want to introduce Deanna Hansen, who has changed thousands of people's lives, and Quinn Castellane, who have both through the block therapy have helped many, many, many people with whether it's ailments, whether it's weight loss, whether it's just feeling and looking better. So with that, let me pass that to Deanna.
Good evening, everyone, and I just want to say how exciting this program has been for me. I've never done anything like this before, and it has been absolutely thrilling and a little bit scary at times because always new challenges, you know, they test us and they tax us, just like the block does. The block is a new challenge for you. So when you start to really dive into your own personal body and you start to unravel and discover the pains and the hidden symptoms, it can be quite intimidating. And that's, again, the healing crisis that we share all the time. The healing crisis is, again, like the most challenging piece to communicate to people because it can happen at any time. Its face can show in so many different ways. So to be able to let people know when and how it's going to show up, we can't do. But to simply understand that change in pain, skin rash, bleeding, mucus production, you know, all of these different things where we might feel sick or feel some kind of movement. We can't go from A to Z overnight. What we want to understand and appreciate is that it's a movement that we're looking for. And sometimes that movement will bring up more pain in the beginning because pain hides. It plays hide and seek with us. And because that's what we've been accustomed to doing is pushing it away, whether through medications or avoiding it posturally, we don't really want to face pain head on and make friends with it because we believe it's our enemy, but really pain is our friend. So when we can really change the way that we think about pain and we approach pain, it becomes one of the greatest gifts and teaching tools for us. Again, pain is the baby crying. You want to really imagine that your cells are your children all working so hard on your behalf so that you can be the healthiest version of yourself. So I just want to say how grateful and thankful that we are that you've shown up. And Quinn, would you like to give a little bit of a hello?
Yeah, well, hello everyone. Yeah, this has been such a great experience to see people go through this, especially through the holidays, because it's so true. You eat more, you drink more. I've had people come into my classes and bragging to me saying, I'm losing inches and I'm only 2 weeks in, and people emailing me. So that's the best part, is seeing you guys changing, and I'm just so excited to keep going with this, seeing all your guys' progress, and yeah, it's just been a blast.
Good, okay. So one of the things that I want to share with you, and I'm not sure if it's on the screen at the moment for you to see, is a before and an after picture. With this 21-day program, I put my friend Kathy through the ringer before I ever turned it into anything real, because I wanted to make sure that this was real, 15 minutes a day, that it would actually work. So if you can see her before and after picture, which if you're not at the moment, you will be, you're going to see that she had remarkable changes. Now, she did 2 cycles of 21 days for this before and after, and she lost close to 6 inches in her waist, and I think it was close to 9 inches up through here. And again, it wasn't so much because she lost fat. What happened was her rib cage alignment changed, which changed the dynamics and the measurements in her body. So you might not see the change on the scale as much as you will see the change in your size and your shape. And really, all I care about from the perspective of health is cellular alignment. As long as your cells are properly aligned, and remember, we have approximately 100 trillion cells. As long as they're positioned where they're supposed to be, you will be healthy, happy, pain-free, lifelong. That's not our reality, because gravity compresses us, and because we haven't been conscious of our posture and our breathing, we have fallen out of balance, fallen into the core, and that's just created a whole raft of problems, from not being able to oxygenate our tissue, to all of the pressure of the rib cage positioned on top of the organs so they can't function properly, affecting the major artery leaving the heart, the aorta. If we're not positioned properly, that straw basically gets crunched and compressed, so now the heart has to work harder to feed the cells. So these are just some of the things that can happen when we fall out of alignment. So cellular alignment is really what we're going for. And when we are aligned properly, our body is stacked as it should be. So then everything can look great. Now I want to show you something, because to me, this is the most significant before and after that you can get. And if you notice, I'm in the moment here. I'm not changing anything except the way that I stand. So I'm going to turn my back to you, and I'm going to show you the way most people stand. And I really want you to take a look at the size of my core. And then I'm going to shift, and I'm going to stand the way that I choose to stand, so that you can see the difference, because it's quite phenomenal. And if you look around and you really start to observe people's posture, you're going to notice that the reason people look out of shape and that their size and shape are incorrect isn't because they need to lose fat, it's because they need to realign. So that's what block therapy is about, is understanding why we're doing what we're doing so that our systems and processes can work as well as possible. So again, I'm just going to turn my back to you. So if you notice, most people stand like this. And if you can observe through here and through here how that looks, it looks a certain way. Now, if I properly align myself, notice the difference. So to me, when I see that before and after, I feel like I look about 20 pounds less than when I'm slumped over. So I would rather learn how to lift my rib cage up out of the way than be on the track that I used to be on. I used to work so hard to try and change that appearance and failed miserably every time. In fact, got worse, because the harder I worked, the denser, the thicker, the shorter I got as I was doing 400 sit-ups a day. Can you imagine? 400 sit-ups a day to try to get a flat belly, and it got bigger. And it got bigger because every time I did a sit-up, I shortened to the point where I was so hard and stuck here that my belly was extended and glued and frozen in that area. So to understand why we're doing what we're doing is the most important, from my perspective, the most important way to get your health on track. So on January the 14th, in our teacher training webinar, it's not only a teacher training webinar, it is also a Master Your Health webinar. We are going to be discussing the next level for you, all of the things that you can implement and add into your life so that you can truly master your health. So this is super exciting, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I'm going to pass the baton over to Tina and see if she would like to share anything.
Thank you. Continuing the work and mastering your health, I can definitely speak to that. Over the last year, where my first year of participating in block therapy classes, in my first year with this company, every single class I was learning something new. I was always having an aha moment. So and finding deeper ways to get into my body, finding more cause sites for the pain that I was suffering from. I can't stress enough how much you will benefit from continuing to do this work. And I'm going to hand it over to Jamie now.
Fabulous. Thank you, Tina. And yes, it's amazing what can happen when you do this and when you follow through. We saw the before and afters there with Kathy. That's just amazing for just simply working on the block and mastering what she's doing with her body. So for all of us, we really want to figure out how to master our health. And that's something that we're going to be doing with a webinar coming up next week, in 2 weeks, January 14th. So we're going to have some more information on that as we go. Steve, if you can switch that slide for me. so we can see that webinar. That would be great. So the webinar is going to be January 14th at 8 p.m. The link to register and learn more about how to really master your health and make sure that you've got that cellular alignment. You're getting all of those pieces and parts to make sure that you're loving life and you're loving the way you look and feel, and those clothes are feeling great. So blocktherapyteachertraining.com is the link. And with that, Deanna, why don't you tell us a little more?
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so one of the things that is really important to understand, and one of the biggest challenges for me with this education, is that there's a few different aspects of cellular health that we need to implement in order to truly bring health into our life lifelong. So in the 21-day program, we are focused on one of our foundations, really, the diaphragm. That is the most important foundation from my perspective, because if we don't have proper alignment of the rib cage, we can't oxygenate our cells properly, and that's going to lead to pain, age, and disease. Now, there's two more major foundations in the body that we're going to be covering, and in the Master Your Health webinar, we will be going through these in depth. And again, one of the biggest challenges has always been, how do I structure all of the information properly so that people can really implement simply without taking a whole bunch of time out of their day? Because that's one of the biggest challenges. We're all so incredibly busy. And for me, it was all about, how can I teach you to implement block therapy into your day, including the other aspects of it, which is breathing and posture, so that you are always doing something for your health. So for example, when I'm standing in line at a supermarket or waiting for the elevator, I am always focusing on rooting. Now, rooting is what we're going to be focusing on in the lower body. And in the Master Your Health program, you get lots of wonderful education. Now, we talk about it in this 21-day program. And again, Quinn, I'm going to get you to start practicing rooting a little more with me here. So when we squeeze this block alone, one of the most important muscular actions required for proper pelvic alignment is being accessed. And I think that most of you, if you do this and you start squeezing this, it doesn't take long at all. Like, it can be seconds to maybe a minute before you're starting to feel fatigued. And again, that's because the adductor muscles have really been forgotten. If you look at the average person sitting or standing, they don't stand, or they don't sit with their knees together. Most people sit with their feet apart, slouched over. Everything has basically fallen and collapsed. If you look at people standing today, same thing. People don't pay attention to the foundation of their body, which causes everything to fall into those spaces. So even talking about something like arthritis, a lot of people have arthritis in their hip joints. So our joints are designed to move freely. There's supposed to be space between the ball and the socket, and there's supposed to be fluid to lubricate that joint so we can go through ranges of motion without any wearing of the cartilage. Now, unfortunately, what happens is when we are standing incorrectly, if my hip joints are properly aligned when I'm standing this way, as soon as I shift my weight to one side and I let everything flip over and compress, now my joint is driving into the socket. And as I go through my lifetime like this, I start wearing down that cartilage. Inflammation results. Inflammation results because the body is genius in its design. The inflammation sends extra blood filled with healing proteins, oxygen, minerals, to actually rebuild that cartilage. But if we don't give the body what it needs in that moment, it's just going to keep going in that negative direction. So even sitting like this, if we're not even talking about the joint space, let's think about the organs in through here. We have our organs of reproduction, organs of elimination. Doesn't matter if you're male or female, it's all the same thing. If we're collapsed at our desk all day sitting in front of the computer, all that's going on here is collapse, compression, and wearing and tearing of all the cells. So one of the big things that we address in this Master of Health program is proper foundations. So Quinn,
yes,
I'm going to have you, because it's my favorite word, talk about rooting and the 4 things that are really important to do, because we do address this in the 21-day program, but I'm going to have you share.
Absolutely. Can I stand for this?
Yeah, you can stand for this.
We might
Okay.
get out of it, but I'll explain here and then I'll stand up.
You know what, I'll stand.
Okay, cool. So we start by looking at the feet. Now our feet should be either parallel to each other or even slightly pigeon-toed to counteract that duck feet motion. Now we're just going to go a step up to the knees. You always want to maintain a slight bend in the knees, never hyperextending. Now from here, we're going to grab the block buddy, place that between your thighs, and now, as Deanna just mentioned and talked about, we're going to squeeze that block and focus on the internal rotation of our thighs. Because again, we want to realign this properly. Now, we want to have approximately 60% of our body weight on our heels compared to the majority of people of 80% on the balls of the feet. Now, if you're not rooting properly, which I'll explain in a second, you're just going to fall backward because you have more weight on your heels. So what prevents us from falling backwards and brings us into the center line of gravity is part of rooting called squeezing the anus muscle. Now that sound funny if this is your first time, but when we squeeze the anus muscle or when we root, it actually properly aligns the pelvis, brings us into more of a center line of gravity so that we are properly aligned. So now, Deanna, take the block out and pretend it's still there and still squeeze the block, internally rotate, and that's how we should be standing compared to how Deanna mentioned and demonstrated before.
Awesome. So when we're doing block therapy, we are creating the space that we've lost over time. We fall out of alignment, the tissue adheres and freezes, seals us with the force of 2,000 pounds per square inch in that negative alignment. When we create the space, the next thing we want to focus on is inflating that space. So we address that in the program with proper diaphragmatic breathing. Once we create and inflate that space, though, then we want to own the space. That's where the postural work comes in. That's where this rooting action comes in. So that is one of the things that we're going to be addressing in greater detail in the Master of Health program. So Tina, I'm going to throw the ball back to you.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to unmute my microphone again. Okay, well, I would like to tell you about our block therapy instructors and some of their experiences after they've become certified with us. I have the privilege of working with all of our instructors from the time that they enter the training program until they certify, and then helping them get their business off the ground and supporting them. So I've seen instructors enjoy unbelievable success. Some of our instructors are so busy, they're just running all day teaching block therapy, and they look amazing, of course. We've even had one instructor who's been offered a contract to teach at all the 5-star resorts in the Caribbean. So as the word of block therapy is spreading across the globe, our instructors are becoming more and more in demand. Not only that, they're making a great living at this, because once they certify, they basically have a business in a box. So once our instructors are certified, we're ready there to support them with all their marketing and all their products. And of course, ongoing education and support. And I am very happy to say that it is my job to work with the instructors. So any of you who plan to come on through to our program as an instructor, I'm going to be the first one you get to talk to. And I can't wait. Jamie?
Very good. Thank you, Tina. And I want to go back for a second, Deanna, and talk about, you were talking about the posture and how you stand, and your funny little stance with the off-kilter there reminds me of a lot of people that are out there doing golf, for instance. My father-in-law had to have his hip replaced because that exact stance that you were showing for years and years and years caused him to have it replaced. Many of us don't think about the things we're doing every single day and how how the block can help us to change that and help us to be able to fix things that we didn't even know could be fixed. I have a short story here. I met Deanna through Wendy, and when Wendy is doing the webinar with Deanna next week, or on January 14th, you guys are going to love her. She's just amazing. But Wendy and I met, and she introduced me to Deanna. I had a brain tumor about 7 years ago, and because of that, this side of my mouth was turned completely down. I had no smile whatsoever. Deanna and I have worked together. We spent, what, 3 days together, Deanna? And I'm proud to say that I actually have a smile now. So block therapy can help you with all kinds of things that you haven't even thought about yet. So we're really excited to be able to bring this to you. If you have things, so it's not just about the losing weight or the losing inches, it's about maintaining your health and getting back the life that you really wanted to have. So Deanna, you can talk a little more about that. I would love to have you, if you've got things that you want to fix, come and see Wendy and Deanna on this webinar on the 14th. Just see what kinds of things are out there and what the opportunities are. Deanna, can you tell us?
Absolutely. So firstly, Jamie, thank you so much for leading me in this direction, because you are absolutely right. Our posture every moment creates our health later. So professional athletes, we can look at them and we can say, wow, are you ever fit? But are you healthy? Being fit and being healthy are very, very different things. A lot of marathon runners drop dead at the age of 50 because there's a component to health that is different than fitness. And, you know, Quinn, for example, as a hockey player, that posture playing hockey, like, what did that do to your body?
It brought everything out of alignment, and you're not only in a forward hunchy motion the entire time you're playing hockey, but I remember there's this one time my pelvis was so out of alignment, I almost missed a full season, and I didn't know what caused it, but just because there was like a pinch from my joints being out of alignment, my lower back was rock solid, painful, taxed all the time. My head and my neck was like this all the time. It's amazing, but I didn't realize it. I had no idea until Deanna brought awareness of posture to myself. So,
and I was a Highland dancer for 11 years, from the age of 7 to 17. So for a Highland dancer, we strongly create this turnout. And what that did to my pelvic alignment and my back, plus I was a provincial volleyball player for a couple of years and high school volleyball for another few years. So I was a power hitter, and I repeatedly, over and over and over again, went through this motion. And what that ultimately did to my rib cage and my pelvis and my general health, it took a while. I didn't know in the moment, of course, what was happening to me. But as I was going through this process and this journey of moving backward through time in my tissue, it was pretty incredible, because I truly realized that all of those sports that I played as a kid, they really caught up to me. So the thing about playing a sport, most sports are asymmetrical. We play tennis, we play volleyball, you know, most things that we do with our dominant side. So when we overwork one side of the body, it creates a ton of challenges for the blood to truly feed and clean all of your cells. I worked on a tennis player once, and his arm was 3 times the size of his other arm because he increased that strength so much on that side. And he was in tremendous pain because of that asymmetry. The perfectly aligned body has 60% of the body weight on the heels and equal symmetry left to right. And again, we're dominant on one side, so we don't live in a world that supports being symmetrical. Yet symmetry and balance is really what we're after with block therapy. Again, whether your intention is weight loss or anti-aging, or you have some chronic pain that you want to deal with, really at the end of the day, this is about understanding that your cells carry consciousness. It is in the cell membrane that all of the interactions from the external world of the cell and the internal world of the cell take place. So when there's compression on those cells and that cell membrane is blocked from being able to process properly, we aren't healthy. And remember last week I told you about David Belinsky's Life of a Cell. If you haven't had that opportunity to check it out, just Google Life of a Cell, and you're going to see this beautiful, beautiful 3-minute video. And again, it's like the universe of activity in every one of our 100 trillion cells, but that's a cell perfectly aligned. So When you realize that you're sitting in this compressed way, know that that cell in your stomach isn't getting fed properly. There's challenges. So if you're eating a meal and you're wanting to digest well, you're not going to be able to if you don't bring that postural component into the mix. So again, when we're talking in our Master of Health webinar next week, we're going to be addressing a bunch of different aspects to health that are so important to bring in. And for those of you that sent in before pictures, I just want to share that if you send in your after pictures today, we will be announcing the winner on that webinar next week, because again, we're so excited to see how far you've come, but realizing we've only been through 20 days. We don't want you to stop. We want you to make this your health style. We want you to realize that doing block therapy, whether it's 15 minutes a day, more, even if you only had 5 minutes a day, working to oxygenate the body, working the diaphragm muscle is the most important exercise you can do, because oxygen is the most important thing that every cell needs. We can live for weeks without food, days without water, literally minutes without oxygen, and every cell in your body is that same way. So to learn how to breathe properly, it's free, it's at your fingertips, you can access it simply by learning. And you know what's really cool is your body wants to be right. It wants to be healthy and aligned because that's how we were born to be. Over time, we lost that. Gravity has taken over our life and it's pulling us down. And if you think about a balloon again that's filled with air, it's buoyant because it's filled with oxygen, it's filled with air. So we want those cells to be light and buoyant so gravity can't grip us and manipulate us. As soon as we collapse into our core and we fall out of alignment with our posture, we're creating all these areas of compression. Compression is dense tissue that gravity is going to grip and age you faster. So when we wonder why sometimes, how can that person age so well and this person seems to be aging faster? That's the reason. Because if you are creating compression, blocks to blood and oxygen flow, those cells are going to go through the process of aging because what they need is blood and oxygen in order to be happy, healthy, youthful, functional, lifelong. So another foundation we're going to be talking about a lot in the Master Your Health program is the tongue. Now, this is a really, really interesting muscle because most people don't really observe the tongue for this function. We think we use it for talking, we use it for chewing. One of the other major functions of the tongue muscle is to support the weight of the head. And it's a challenge to integrate proper tongue alignment into your life. But in that Master of Health program, we're going to be giving you step-by-step exercises so that that can help you integrate this muscle into alignment so that your head can be aligned properly. When we collapse and everything falls forward and we have compression back through here, that leads to arthritis in the neck. When we collapse and everything is bulging through here, the major arteries supplying the brain, the hair, the eyes, the skin, they're blocked. Your thyroid is blocked. The cranial nerves supplying the body, they're blocked. We want to make sure that that head is properly aligned. First, it comes from the alignment of the rib cage. Then it comes from the alignment of the neck, which is a function of the tongue muscle. So that's another piece of the education that we want to continue to integrate. And this is a life journey. Because there's so many pieces to it, you can't just be told you need to breathe diaphragmatically and align your tongue to be positioned properly. If it were that easy, everybody would be doing it. The challenge is these are postural progressions that we've put together in this program so that you can bring it into your life in a systematic way and that you can access it really easily without actually having to take time out of your day. So that is one of the really awesome pieces we're going to be going through next week, because for you to be able to understand why you have your problems and challenges and be given the tool and the direction to overcome them, what better gift to yourself, truly. So Quinn, do you have anything you'd like to add about alignment and posture?
I think that was perfect, but actually a great analogy Deanna mentioned was the balloon, and that actually put another light bulb in my head because I'm learning something new every single day. So it makes complete sense. If you just have a balloon that's deflated and you drop it, it's going straight to the floor. If you fill it with air, with oxygen, it's a lot more buoyant. And I know Deanna just mentioned that, but that's just such an important analogy for us to understand, because we're literally becoming lighter and more buoyant as we awaken ourselves, breathe properly, and align ourselves in the correct alignment. It's pretty incredible, the body's design and how we can rejuvenate these cells, bring them back to life.
And another thing that I really want to make people understand is this journey will never end. I've been doing it for years, and I keep finding new layers of pain. I keep having new healing crises. Right now, grossing you out, sorry, I have all these cysts at the back of my neck because I've been doing a lot of work in this area and my neck, and suddenly stuff is coming out. So understanding, like I get thrilled when I have a healing crisis because I'm like, yeah, there's some new garbage coming out of me. I don't want it in me. It's coming out. I'm happy about it. When I was with Wendy in the Bahamas and Quinn, the first time we were there, this thing in my eye started coming out. And I'm like, man, and through the whole summer, I had this really weird, swollen, funky-looking eye. But I understood what it was. I understood that, okay, some garbage that's been trapped is actually starting to find its way out. So I really appreciate those healing crises. If we didn't understand them, they'd be scary. Like, do I have pink eye? Do I have psoriasis on my eye? I mean, if we don't know what's going on, we're going to try to find what it is. And really what it is old stuff coming to the surface and leaving. So that's a really important piece to understand, but it never ends. I've been working a ton on my upper body, and again, like my rib cage continues to change, and my breathing continues to change, and everything continues to change. So that's the part that I get so excited about, is I've come a long way, but I still have so far to go, and I can see that each year that I work, I'm getting to a more stable, a more balanced and aligned place. And really for me, that is the exciting piece, because I don't want the journey to ever end. I want to always know that I always have more that I can do, that I can always feel better, feel calmer, feel more open to whatever life brings. The universe is a beautiful, mysterious wonder, and our cells are here to absorb that and to speak to us through our symptoms and through the language that the body gives us. And when we truly learn to tap in to what they mean through application and through time, it's amazing what happens. Light bulbs go off, and suddenly the insights are there, and it's so exciting. And you know, Quinn and I have conversations all the time about what we want to do, what we want to see in the world, and we're so aligned. And again, when he told me that he wanted to be part of this journey with me, my heart just exploded because I was so excited. And for us to be on the same page with that, this isn't about vanity or about being the best or anything. It's simply about realizing that there's something that's working, and we just really want to share that with you, because why wouldn't we? Why would we want to keep it to ourselves? And that's why we're here, is to share everything that we can. So on this webinar, we want to be there to answer your questions. We want you to be able to hear people's testimonials. I know you've heard a lot through the process, but there's going to be more. And if this is something that you think you might want to do to help other people, we want to share with you the opportunities that exist in that moment as well. So, Jamie, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Sure, absolutely, Deanna. And, you know, it's funny because as we think about our own health, most of the time, and most of us women don't think about our health so much as we do about our family and our friends and the people around us. So by learning this information, you're not only helping yourself, but you have the ability to help others. I can say I've bought the block for my daughter. She's a freshman at the University of Miami. And I have to say the block is one of those things. I have been one of those people who travel a lot with business. And when you're in a hotel room and you're dealing with trying to get work done and get to events and do all the stuff you have to do, it's hard to get the exercise stuff on and get downstairs to the treadmill or go out and take that mile run or 2 mile or 3 mile or 10 mile, whatever it might be. 1 or 2 for me usually. So the block is great. It fits in my suitcase. I can take it with me. And now that you have taught me how to use it, I can use that and fix things. The other day, I threw my back out. What did I do? I texted Deanna and said, Deanna, what do I need to do to fix my back? And I did. I jumped on the block for 5 minutes, and I was feeling a whole lot better. So instead of having to run to a doctor every time there's an ailment, learning how your body works and how this alignment works is just an amazing gift to yourself and to your friends and family. So if you have any sort of ideas or things or want to improve, as I said, it doesn't matter whether it's your own personal health or your family members, and you want to learn how to do it, do yourself a favor. The best gift you can give yourself for 2016 is to come and hear Wendy and Deanna on this webinar next week, January 14th. I believe it's Thursday night, right, Deanna?
Yes,
it is. So come and learn and just see what the possibilities are and what the opportunities are that are out there. Wendy is an amazing marketer. I learn everything. I learn all kinds of stuff from her every day. So having somebody like Wendy out there to help you figure out what you can do with this possibilities once you learn this, as Tina said earlier, people are just thriving to get this once they find out. And Deanna, as the founder of this, I want to thank you personally for all the stuff you've done. Tell us a little more, because I'm fascinated about this every time you start talking about it.
Oh, thank you. Well, one of the things that I was thinking when you were talking, Jamie, was the range of people that we have doing block therapy. One of the first block therapy practitioners that we had is an 82-year-old woman, and actually on my YouTube channel, you will see Carolyn's testimonial. She's absolutely lovely. And what was really exciting is Carolyn had come to many classes, plus she did some intensives of mine. So it just goes to show that age has nothing to do with this. As long as you are breathing, you are going to benefit from doing the block, because it's all about guiding you at your own pace, teaching you your limits through understanding your own body, allowing you to become intuitive in the process. And then it was a number of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that one of my patients said, you know what, my daughter really wants to do this, but the block buddy seems a little too big. So born was the block baby. So we have kids doing this. So whether you are male, female, senior, child, athlete, in front of your computer, not active, it doesn't matter, because this is going to benefit you. The applications are universal, and the benefits are universal. And again, a lot of people think, you know, nothing is that good. There's nothing in the world that can cover all of these pieces. But I'm going to tell you why this is different. This is different because what it does is it addresses the reason that we have pain, age, disease, issues with our size and shape. The reason is compression. The challenge that we have is that compression, again, seals with a force of 2,000 pounds per square inch. So again, imagine what that says. A 2,000 pound per square inch force sealing us out of alignment. If you have a scar from an injury, a scar from a surgery, or compression from incorrect posture and breathing, they all act the same in the body. They all are barriers to blood and oxygen flow. Block therapy addresses compression. It puts the space back into the tissue that we lose through time, through injury, through surgery. And there's nothing out there like that. And that's the gift. This does reverse what time has done, because gravity is what propels us to age. Gravity is constantly pulling us down toward the earth, so constantly that we're not even aware that it's there. We'll become aware of it when we hit a certain age and suddenly we see things sagging, whether it's our breasts or whether we now have a spare tire or whether our skin looks older. But we're not aware of it on a daily basis. And again, if you think about the science, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if gravity is a constant force pulling us down, there must be something in our body that is equal and opposite to that. And that is the full conscious exhalation, which is why through the process, I don't talk so much about inhaling. I frequently and mostly teach about the full conscious exhalation. When we learn how to exhale fully, our body will naturally inhale. But we need to create that space first to bring the new in. I like using the analogy of if I were to go and buy a whole new wardrobe for my closet, I'm not going to throw in my new clothes before I remove the old. I need to create the space in that closet to put the new in. So same in the body when we're dealing with something like an acute injury. Sorry, I jumped there. I tend to do that. Okay, back to that point. The point is that we want to make sure that we understand the process, that we create the space before we put something new into the equation. So that brings me to where I was going with acute injury. The one thing that's really interesting with acute injury, and I know Quinn and I have shared this, but Quinn had the personal experience with a serious fracture in his ankle, is that when we have an acute injury, The body's response to that is to inflame. So if you think of an injury, it's a tear in either soft tissue, whether it could be a ligament, a tendon, a muscle, or a fracture in a bone. Now, the reality is it doesn't really matter. It's a gap. The second law of thermodynamics is nature abhors a gradient. So basically, nature doesn't like the gap. Nature's going to fill that gap in. So in the body, if we sprain our ankle, or we break our leg, or anything, or we cut our arm, the body inflames. And the reason it does that is because it doesn't want that gap to be there. It wants to fill it in. So the natural response of the body is to send blood, oxygen, minerals to rebuild that tissue. If we do the right thing with it, the process is complete when it is, and we go on. If we don't do that and we ice it, we block that inflammation from happening because we have a belief that inflammation is actually a bad thing, then we actually stop the natural response of the body to rebuild the tissue, but the gap is still there. So what happens is actually scar tissue gets created. The netting, the fascia gets sucked into that space. It creates a shift in the posture, and it seals us out of alignment. And now that is denser tissue that is going to be manipulated by gravity and affect our aging process. So when we can remove ourselves from the complexity of all the things in medicine and in the body and come down to the very basic, simple components of what it is we are wanting to do, it becomes really simple. And again, in the program, in the Master Your Health program, we go through everything. You understand the nervous system in its very simple, basic way. I don't want to remember, I mean, I took anatomy years ago. So by no means am I an expert on anatomy, but I am an expert on what opening flow does to cells. So it doesn't matter if we're talking about nervous tissue, circulatory tissue, muscle tissue. As long as those cells are fed and clean, they work for us. So in that Master of Health program, you're going to understand all of the different systems in the most basic way and how block therapy is going to benefit that. So if you have numbness or burning or tingling in your hand when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're feeling like, oh, this keeps getting worse, it keeps getting worse, it's because there's a block somewhere up through here which is affected by your rib cage. So when you can start to piece these things together, it really becomes simple to understand what our symptoms are and how we can address them to correct everything. Rather than if we have carpal tunnel going and getting that sliced open, that's not why we have pain here. It's because of what's going on in through here. So like Samantha, who works for me, who had the splints on her hands, after a very short period of time, suddenly she's like, wow, I don't have any symptoms anymore. So again, it's the education as to why we have situations, how we can approach them and address them, that is really what we want to get across to people, because you can access your own health, your own physical well-being. It's in your hands when you understand what we're attempting to do, and it is simply feeding blood and oxygen flow to cells and keeping them clean. And if we keep every cell fed and clean lifelong, doesn't matter how old you are, it's healthy, it's useful, youthful, and useful. It's doing its job, it's doing its job, and that's all that we want. We want to be able to live a free life in the container that is housing our soul, and that's the beauty of block therapy. Jamie?
That is the beauty of block therapy, and it's amazing what you are doing for people, Deanna. So I can't thank you enough, because you've made such a difference in my life in what we've done, and I've only known you, what, a couple of months now?
Yeah.
So which is amazing. So and you're telling me with the biology, I don't have to worry about learning everything. I can just start singing "The hip bone's connected to the knee bone," or whatever that song is. That covers it. Good. Okay. So anybody, regardless of what your knowledge is of biology and information, this system is going to help you to understand that, to understand how to fix simple common ailments. It's amazing the stories that we've heard over the last 3 weeks. Now you have the chance to take it that next level, to really learn how this block does it. And for those of you that have not gotten a block yet, then once this webinar is over, or for this webinar, you're going to want to get some blocks. Steve, if you can switch that over there, we've got the blocks you can buy at 21dayswithdeanna.com/blocks, And if you'll go down one more for me, Steve, we've got 2 different packages. You can get some time with Quinn, and I'm hearing those are amazing. I need to schedule my time soon there, Quinn. Wendy has been using them, and I've heard several others that have been using them. So we have 2 different packages, again, at the 21dayswithdeanna.com/blocks. So Deanna, want to tell us, we have about 15 minutes left, so let's get the last of the details that we want, and then we will drive all of these people want to come and hear you and Wendy talk next week and tell us even more.
Wonderful. One of the other things that we will be addressing next week is also the chakra system. So there's a whole bunch of beautiful components of the body, and some people are focused on the physical part, some people are focused on the emotional part, the mental part. The really cool thing with block therapy is, again, it addresses all of the pieces because it's all about your cells. And if you think about anxiety and depression, for example, when I suffered from it, and I was really severe with my anxiety and depression. I was very collapsed, and nothing was getting fed, and there was a lot of pressure. So what I have come to understand is that when our chakra system, the energy wheels that support the pranic flow in the body, is also blocked, that affects our emotions. And the emotions affect the way that we think. Everything kind of works together. I really like using the analogy when I'm talking about blood flow to cells. Imagine if you had 10 satellites in an area, all giving you information about the weather patterns. If you had 10, you would have a certain amount of information to properly predict what could be coming. Now let's say that you only had 3 for the same area. Suddenly your predictions might not be as accurate because you have less information. So now you're having to fill in those blocks a little bit with some guesses. So now every single, this is the really cool part because I have a different perspective. Everybody says that the brain rules the body. I truly believe that the heart rules the body for the reason that the heart is the organ that is designed to feed every single one of our cells with blood. So if that heart is able to do that and send blood freely to every single one of our cells, then the cells send information back to our brain. If I touch something hot, I burn my finger, it sends a signal to my brain. If my hand is numb though, and I can't feel anything and I'm holding something hot, I don't actually know that my tissue is burning. So the more compression we have in the body, the less correct information we are sending to the brain in the moment. So now our mind has to fill in the gaps from memory. And memory is connected to that past or future space, which is that fear space, which comes from breathing from the upper chest. So all of these pieces are connected. How we think, how we breathe, how we process emotions, how our physical body functions. We can't separate one from the other because this is the container that houses our soul, it houses our brain, it houses our emotions, how we are in each moment. And it was really interesting. It was years ago. I can't actually remember if I shared this story in one of those initial hangouts, but I was speaking to a friend of mine, and he asked me a question, and I had just started the practice of yoga and really started gaining an understanding of how our posture and how we relate to people affects everything. So he was asking me a question, and I was looking down at the time that he was asking the question. And when I was about to respond, I was about to just look up like this and answer. And because I had learned what I had from yoga, I put my head back down, and then I looked up with both eyes, and I smiled, and I answered. Now, the interesting thing was the message I wanted to say was the same, but the way he would have perceived that from me was very different because one is this way and one is this way. And when we start understanding that our posture, the way that we carry ourselves, what we do with our physical body is so important. They say that only 7% of what we say to other people is heard in the words that we use. The other 93% is tone, it's body language, it's how we relate. So when we are really concerned about, wow, what did I say to that person, or did I speak clearly? You can be, but there's so many other components that the other person is going to be unconsciously even picking up on that's going to say to them what they're feeling about you. So when we are open, when we are smiling, when we are properly balanced and aligned and peaceful from our breath, we are, even when we're feeling anxious or scared about something, we are portraying confidence. And really, that's what we want to do. Whether we're talking about business or relationships or just interacting with people in general, we want to be happy, calm, confident, because that is going to change then how that person responds and reacts to us. And really, at the end of the day, we just want to be happy. You know, we really simply want to be happy. Wendy, I'm so sorry she's not feeling well. She's actually starting to pay attention to the Master Your Health program, and rather than being here and forcing through, she's taking that time out and that rest. I'm so thankful. But she sent me some incredibly lovely books that I've read over the last little while. Creating Affluence by Deepak Chopra. I have learned so much. And from A to Z, they give you a paragraph of what we should be understanding about what's important for us to be affluent, to live the best possible life. And H stands for happiness. And it was so interesting because they said most people are going to go after that job, that relationship, have that body that they think is going to make them happy. But really, at the end of the day, it's simply about being happy. If we can choose happiness, then all of those other pieces are going to fall into place. So from what I've learned, happiness is in large part based on posture and how we breathe. Because if we're compressed, we feel anxious because our cells are saying, anxiety, you're not giving me the room and the space that I need to function. And then that gets translated into our brain that we suffer from anxiety and depression. I lived it. Now I'm in a different space. I still have a ways to go. By all means, I am by no means at the end of my journey. I still have some pretty dark, scary days at times. But at least I know the process that I can take myself to that next place. Is there anything you'd like to share there, Connor?
I would just like to share a little bit about the teacher training webinar, because it's going to be, well, first of all, firsthand, one of the very first instructors to go through the online teacher training program. And wow, being involved in the health and wellness industry, the fitness industry, and Fluid Isometrics is the best gift you could ever be given in your life, because you're helping others to get better, to get healthier, to be more confident, to get to a higher potential of their life, but you're doing that to yourself as well. So it works hand in hand, and there's not one day you'll ever regret it, because you're healthy for the rest of your life. You're creating people to be healthy for the rest of your life, and that's what success is. Success is what you can do to help others in a positive way, and that's our intentions, is to help people to get to the healthiest versions of themselves. And once you understand that and know it, then you can do that and spread it to other people, and then it just keeps on going and going and going, and it's just the best gift you could ever be given. And wow, I just can't wait to keep spreading this, and I'm excited.
So on that note, again, I really want to thank those of you that chose to send in those before pictures and measurements. And if you can follow through, that would be so appreciated, because it is through proof that people start to believe, and to try and share something that's new. The more proof that we can gain, the better it is. And on the 14th at that webinar, we're going to be reviewing all of those pictures, and we're going to choose a winner who's going to get to come to the Bahamas and enjoy a retreat. And I am so excited to be a part of that and to be in Wendy's beautiful home where we have those retreats. It's just the most serene, incredible space, honestly. Anybody would want to be there. So please take the time. If you know somebody that might be interested in just hearing, you don't have to do anything except listen. If you're curious or serious about this information, this is a place to come to. We'll be there to answer questions, and I just want to share this with everyone. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time. This has been such a wonderful opportunity for me to really have fun with this. Part of it for me is always, how can I share what I want to share in a medium that works for me? And I really feel that I resonate with this, being here in my home, in my personal space where I love to be, with my beloved nephew and my team and all the people around me that have been supporting me, is amazing. And for me to be able to access people anywhere from here is the best gift. So again, I want to thank all the people that have come to me. Wendy, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Wendy and all the amazing, incredible people she's brought into my life, and all the team that's been supporting me for years with this process. Thank you so much. So going forward for 2016, my goal is to simply share with as many people as possible what works with the perspective of block therapy. So I hope to see you on that webinar on the 14th.
Very good. And when, Deanna, I would love to just one more time let everybody know to go to blocktherapyteachertraining.com. That's where you can register. And let me do a little recap. We have a couple of minutes left. The recap is, people can learn how to manage their own health with something as simple as the block. How much does it weigh? Maybe a pound. This simple little block that gives us the ability to realign our body, get those cells back in shape, and do the things that we want to do. So if you have any aspirations of living to a long life, of golfing for a long time, of getting into that little black dress for that next wedding or whatever you're going to, or reunions, those are good ones too. So any of those kinds of things, you want to do this for yourself. You want to learn to master your health. And for those of you that are yoga or Pilates or whatever instructors and have a desire to help other people, there's a piece of it that you can learn to do this and help other people as well. So do yourself a major favor. Just come and check it out. Go to blocktherapyteachertraining.com. Have your computers on and ready on January 14th at 8 p.m. Central Time. And by the way, Deanna, we will be sending out an email to everyone tonight that will include the link for them to upload their photos and their measurements again, so that we'll have that there and ready for them, and they can fill that all out. Deanna, you have some more stuff to tell us?
I just wanted to add one thing to what you said, Jamie. Just from our experience, the teacher training program, it's not just for people that are already teaching, for people with a prerequisite. In fact, what I found, the most people that came to become teachers didn't have a background in anything. They were people that fell in love with the block because what it did for them first, and then they wanted to help people. So that's another aspect. You don't have to have a background in bodywork to become a block therapy instructor or therapist. All you have to do is love the block and then want to share it, and that opportunity is also there for you.
Absolutely. So come and learn how to share the block with everyone you know, and with yourself first, and get those goals of 2016. How many of us, Deanna, have set goals at the beginning of 2016, and we do those cleanses and we do whatever it is, and we forget about it in just a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months maybe. The block is something that you can retain for a lifetime, and it's not a difficult resolution to make. So let's make that resolution to use the block, to get on the block and have our block party all year long. So come to blocktherapyteachertrainer.com and teachertraining.com and join Wendy and Deanna on January 14th and learn how to make 2016 the best year of your life. Wendy or Deanna, I think that does it. Anything else?
No, thank you everyone so much. Have a wonderful week.